Okay, so this is lecture number 1 for the Simultaneous Techniques and Criminal Terminology class. I see that people are already logging into the monitoring session, and that's a good practice. You should all do that. I'm going to discuss what will happen when you do this, when you go to the monitoring sessions and all that stuff. And the idea, of course, is for me to go over all the benefits and everything, how, pretty much the structure of what we're going to be doing today. So I will take the first 15 minutes to do that so that you learned what we're going to be doing in this course as well as in future courses. One of the things that we like to do at all times is basically have some control of, or have some idea as to what your performance is as you're doing this as you're taking this course. And one of the things that that we emphasize is the ability or the your possibility of being able to be monitored. What does it mean to be monitored? Well, it won't happen today because it's your first lecture, but you will see that in the near future, starting next week, I'm going to be playing some practices here in class. And those practices that I play here in class will correspond to what we discussed today. So the idea is that we discuss something today in class, then during this week you go to the lab and practice it, and then you come next week, and for a portion of the class, I play that practice to see where you are at and to monitor you real time. What it means to monitor you is that I will be able to access, I can hear what you're saying while you hear the practice at home. So to that end, we have this monitoring option here, and that's a button on top of the player. And it's a good thing that everybody when they come in for the first time, when they get into the classroom, the virtual classroom, they already go to they log in into Zoom. You have to make sure that you select join with the computer audio. If there are some certain things that if you're not familiar with Zoom, you may want to look into that, and maybe this week check on Google how to join a meeting in Zoom. And there are some basic steps that once you do that once, and if you click in the right place, then the system is not going to ask you again. But the idea is that you do join Zoom with the computer audio. And if you have headsets and a microphone, then it will have to be with the audio corresponding to that headset and microphone. The process is, or the procedure is very simple. You click on that monitoring, and then you're going to be on a waiting room. Once you're on the waiting room, you don't have to do anything else. You can minimize it. Okay, so you minimize the page, and you go back to this page where you can see me and you can follow the lecture, and just forget about the Zoom room at all times. You don't have to worry about it. So when I'm teaching here, we're not even using Zoom. We're not doing anything. Here it's just a one direction with you having the ability to ask questions. But once the practice begins, that's the time that I am going to be selecting people randomly. And then I select, and that's when I will be using the Zoom app. And then I will admit one of you, whoever I select randomly, to that Zoom meeting with me. At that point, you're not going to see me, you're not going to hear me. You may know that I am monitoring you, and then you just continue interpreting as if don't let that bother you. So what will happen then is that I monitor you, I record you. So I record you for maybe a couple of minutes, depending on the practice and depending on the class. So I record you for a couple of minutes, and then after recording you for a couple of minutes, what I do is I basically stop recording. Well, I continue recording the session, but I actually put you back into the waiting room, and then you stay there. And if I decide to monitor you later on, I'll do that again. But then once I put you back into the waiting room, then I give you comments. Okay, then you'll be able to see me, and I'll tell you how you did in the performance, what you needs to be done. And then after that, I stop recording. So I created a recording file for you with my comments. We usually get the recording file within 12 hours. So those of you who were monitored will start receiving this link just to be on the safe side, Wednesdays after 10 a.m., let's say. It probably will be earlier than that. Then that link, when you receive the email, you will click on that link and you'll be able to hear yourself. And then after that, you don't hear yourself, you'll see me, and I'll give you all the comments as to how you're performing and all that stuff. Then that link also goes to your record. I mean, what I mean by going to your record is that it is accessible by me later on, and it's certainly accessible by the live instructor. And we will discuss what the live session is briefly in a few minutes. So now we keep track of your performance throughout this whole program, right? And we can actually access, any recording that corresponds to your performance in any class. And it's available to you as well. If if you're in the third or fourth course here and you want to be able to get a list of all the recordings that we have on you, we'll send, just request it and we'll send it to you. In fact, we're even thinking about next quarter adding that option into your website so that you just go directly and download your recordings and the comments that we have internally. Because it's a good idea for you to see the comments as well, although the comments are all verbal anyway. But occasionally, below the link, we put some comments of some sort. Like for example, make sure that the student does this, does whatever the case is. So that's what happened in a lecture. Of course, during the lecture, I will be explaining things. You will be taking notes. I strongly suggest that you have two sets of notes, one for the class material and the other one for the laboratory material. Okay? So having two type of notes is always beneficial. Okay, it's always beneficial. And the idea, of course, or rather not notes, but I should say notebooks. The idea is that you will be able to separate them, because although they are very linked, what I discuss in class and the lab, they're kind of linked. It's always a good idea to have them separately, because you will get vocabulary in the lab that otherwise searching it will be too complicated. So you take your notes as I'm discussing the lecture here. You will take notes. It's just like attending a class. Now, if you have a question at any time, just basically don't use the Zoom, because you're not admitted to Zoom. You're just in a waiting room, so you can't use that for any purpose. But what you will do is you will write your question, and then I answer the questions, as they come in, and sometimes it takes a few minutes, or sometimes I decide to finish an explanation and then I want to answer. This is the way that I can structure the class better, so that the questions do not interfere with the learning process of the other people that are not asking the question. So I know when is the right time to answer all those questions, and I will do that. So you get your answer there. You don't have to say what your name is, doesn't matter. I'll answer the question, just whatever question you want. You can do this anonymous and I'll answer the question, whatever question it is. So that's kind of what will happen in class, all right? Now the class comes with the lab, and I'll show that later on, how you will access the lab, how you can access all the features in your course. But the lab by itself has the practice. So in other words, there are two things to interpreting. It's the explanation that I provide you, right? Then there is the vocabulary that you will find in your class manual, which is, you probably downloaded already. It's on the menu on the left side, on the upper, I think it's the upper option that says download class manual. So you have the lecture here with the monitoring, then you have the class manual where you're going to get the vocabulary, and I will assign certain homework from that class manual. Then you have the laboratory. The laboratory is where you get the practice. You are going to get the practice a week before I play it here in most instances, particularly for this course. And you get that, you will get that practice so that you can prepare for the following week. So that when you come in the following week, a week from today, you had already 5, 6, 7 days to practice that material. So when you come in, the expectation is that you'll do very well. I monitor you, and then we kind of close the loop. Now, we have several students in this class. I wanted to have not more than 35, but we ended up with 36. So it's impossible for me to monitor 36 students in one session, but I can certainly monitor at least 20, particularly in this class. So it's possible that some of you will get monitored next week, and some of you will get monitored 2 weeks from now, and some of you may get monitored twice. So the monitoring session is very important. So when you finish the class here, then I will give you some instructions as to what to do to go to the lab and to do what particular practice you need to do during the week. And although I'm not testing you in written form any of that material, but I will be playing it in the next lecture and then monitoring you. So it's just giving you the practice a week in advance. And believe me, it's not just the practice. It also has the script with the translation of everything that is being said. Now, so here comes the first question. If you have the script of the practice with the translation, when you come next week to do when I play that practice here in class, should you be referring to that script? And the answer is no. The ideal scenario is no, not to refer to the script, okay? So the script is for you to work while you're in the lab at home working on your own. But once you're in class, you shouldn't have the script. And believe me, I can see if you have the script, because I may ask you to show your camera, and I'll see whether you're actually looking at the script or not. And I don't want you to be looking at any script. And so what happens if next week I play practice and you do horrible? Nothing. I just give you feedback, and I'll tell you what you need to improve on, and then you just do that the following week. I'll give you specific advice. And by that I mean I will tell you, for example, make sure you go to arraignment number 3 in your lab and do this. So I'll be very specific, and all you got to do is just follow the instructions. So when I can tell you that if you do horrible this week, next week you're candidate number 1 to be monitored, okay? And I know what I ask you to do because I have a record of it, and therefore I'm going to be looking for that, right? The question is whether I can see you on video. If you joined without a video, I cannot see you on video. But what happens is that I have the ability to force you to, or to ask you to share your webcam. And you have to share it, right? And then I can see you. Now, I usually don't like that because, there's some element of privacy and you may not want to. So if we want to do this on an honor basis, that will be perfectly fine. Okay, it's for your own benefit really to do it that way. But if I have enough experience to know when somebody is actually reading the script or not. So for some of those instances, I may ask you to share your camera. Okay, I may ask you, and if you don't do it, it's up to you. Okay, because after all, there is no grade assigned to that performance. However, at the end of, you have 4 lectures and then there is a final exam. The day of the final examination, which is 3 hours, I will be playing, we'll do this in a kind of organized way. The final examination comes with questions about your class manual. Remember, I told you that's the vocabulary questions. And then also comes with basically how you're performing in your interpretation. So there is what we call a written exam and an oral examination. And that will take place on week number 3. Okay? We'll probably do the oral examination first, and then we'll do the written exam. We're trying to figure out what will be the best option, or we may even proctor your performance. We have many different ways to do that. That will carry a grade. So there is no grade assigned to you throughout the first 4 weeks. The final grade for this class is the grade you're going to get in week number 5, and it is going to be written and oral. Now, what percentage of the total grade corresponds to written and what percentage corresponds to oral? In this course, it's 50-50, but it is not going to be 50-50 in all courses. As you progress and you are getting closer to getting ready for your state examination, the oral can take up to 100% of the final grade. So we are gradually doing this, okay? And now, for example, in the next course, the written takes a little bit more importance than the oral. So having said that, that's kind of the process. Now, besides all this, you will have access to what we call live assessments, and I think you can see them on your menu. So if you look at your menu, the top says download class manual, then week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, final exam, online lab, remedial seminars, and live assessments. So we talk about download class manual, and now we're going to talk about live assessments. And this is not an assessment for the grade either. And a live assessment doesn't mean you have to go live anywhere. What it means, however, is that you will have the opportunity to connect with another instructor live, not me, someone else, to give you maybe sort of a coach to prepare you for the session that you're coming next week when I monitor. The thing that really counts here is what I think of your performance, right? And obviously the other instructor's opinion is important, but you can look at that person as your coach. So what do you want to do with that coach? Well, you go to during the hours that they are available. I'll show it to you in a second. And you go in, and when you go in, you ask the coach, look, I'm getting ready for arraignments next week. Can you listen to how I'm doing? I already worked pretty hard, you know, usually you can have access this coach live on Mondays and Saturdays or both. So, you know, you have like from Wednesday until Saturday, you have about 4 days to start working with arraignments. You will see that the arraignments that you have to start working for next week is going to be a total of 10. Maybe you can do 5 or 6 by Saturday, and then maybe do some additional work and check also on Monday. And then all you got to do to tell that person is, look, I'm getting ready for next week. So can you tell me what I'm doing right or wrong? That's it. You know, because it's kind of reinforcing what you're studying with somebody who can give you real-time information. And then, so your goal is always to prepare the practice that you do that week, to prepare it for next week. And in that 1 week that you have available in terms of the practice itself, you have access to 2 different live instructors, and they're both different, or coaches. There is no grade, okay? So don't feel that they're going to grade you, although it says live assessment. In fact, I may ask them to say live coach, so that makes it a little bit less formal. And then you will access maybe 10 minutes, and then once he listens to you and say, you're doing well, or you should do this, that's it, then you go. So when are these sessions being offered? I'm gonna show them to you, and these are called the live sessions, and you probably have already seen that. I'm gonna show that to you right now. Let's see, give me 1 second, please. All right, so, okay, let's see how I can do this. 1 second, we have a new device here, and let's see. I'm getting kind of confused here. All right, so I'll show you once I check with IT how to do this, because they're giving me time. Okay, so it's going to be. I'll show it to you later. But if you go to www.interpreting.com and you click on student login, I'm going to give you the times anyway so that you know. For the court and medical, in your case, your court program, your live sessions or the dates, the times that are available are Mondays, all Mondays, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And this is Pacific Standard Time. And Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So Mondays from 4 to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. It doesn't mean you have to be there all the time. It doesn't mean that at all. What it does mean, however, is that you can access, maybe if it's from 4 p.m. to 6, you may want to access at 5. You may have to be they usually also put you in a waiting room with the students from this class. So it's a good opportunity for you to actually chat with your students or your, other students for this class, and that's when you can, can talk about, this arraignment is very difficult. How do you study and this and that and so on and so forth. So that's actually what we want to accomplish. Not only just you working on your own, but also being able to work with other students, just kind of connect. And that's going to be like a Zoom meeting. And in that Zoom meeting, you'll be able to see each other and discuss. And it's just a room where it's just you with the other fellow students taking the same class. So once the coach is ready for you, then the moderator is going to put you in the room with the coach, and that's when you tell the coach, you know what, can you monitor me and see how I'm doing and this and that, I'm getting ready for this, or whatever the case is. And that's how you're going to be how you're going to be doing how you're going to be working on this throughout the course. Now the courses are 5 weeks, as you all know, and therefore they're pretty intense 5 weeks. You have a lot of different resources, and sometimes it could be a little bit overwhelming. So we're going to be discussing them gradually today, okay? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be discussing all these elements so that there are no confusions, because I know that it could be very complicated to kind of understand all the resources that you have. You have plenty of resources. So now we understand pretty much the dynamics of what happens from 1 week to the next, the participation of what the lab is all about and all that stuff. And we know how that actually works. So, we can kind of take it easy and then start with the class, and then later on after the break we continue with the next portion. Now, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask me. Mondays 4 to 6, Saturdays 1 to 3 are the hours for the live assessments. That is absolutely correct. Anybody has any questions? I'll wait for about 10 minutes or something 10 minutes. 20 seconds for any questions. Do we need to reserve a spot for the live assessment? No. Just show up. Of course, I can tell you right now that the best time is to start at, if you want to come on Monday, 4 o'clock, because sometimes you get a lot of people, or Saturday, 1 o'clock. And there might be a lot of people. If we notice that a lot of people are attending the live sessions or the coaching sessions, then what we will be doing then is we will be adding maybe more time. So we'll adjust so that you don't wait too long. But quite often people have to wait, be ready to wait about 30 to 45 minutes. If you don't, it's like an office hour. Imagine you go to the instructor's office hour, and then there's somebody in the room and there's a line of 3 or 4 people. You got to wait until all of them go through. But the coach knows that there is a long line, therefore it's not going to spend too much time on each one. And if the coach realizes there is no long line, then they're going to spend a lot of time with you. That's basically the way it works. We play the live session for the proctor to hear us. No, you don't have to worry about it. You just basically go to this coach for this live session, and you have to be connected to the computer, and they already have the panel. They're going to give you a link, and then you just basically go, but you tell them, they're going to give you a link, and then the link is going to have all the practices that are available for this course, and you will say, just check me on arraignment, see how I'm doing on arraignment. Your class will always be, of course, on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. That's for sure. Do we need a criminal terminology dictionary? We will be discussing that later on, but most of the material that you will need in terms of vocabulary is material that it is already in your class manual, okay? So it's material that it is in your class manual. You can look on the upper corner where it says class manual. There's going to be a lot of information there. We're going to be talking about it shortly. And basically, that's all you need at this point. So the answer to your question is you don't need a criminal terminology for this course. But eventually you may need to get one. Okay, you're going to be learning. I'm giving you the criminal terminologies for this course. What you might need is just a regular dictionary. English, Spanish, Spanish, English. And I'm going to be, before the end of the session today, I'm going to be giving you some hints as to which one will be a good dictionary you can purchase and where you can purchase. It's about $45, $50 usually. And that dictionary will be good for the duration of your whole program. We always have class on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, definitely. To do so, is it required or just recommended to do so? It is not required. The live assessments or this live coaching is not required. It's basically recommended. It's another service for you. Now, if I were you, however, I would take advantage of it, okay? Maybe not every week, but every other week maybe. Or even every week. And some students actually access on Mondays and then Saturdays on a consistent basis, because these live sessions go on nonstop for about 11 weeks. Then we have a couple of week break and then 11 more weeks. So even while you are in a break between this class and the next course, you will be able to access them. Okay? Is it required to? Okay. Is the webcam a requirement? No. You don't need to have a webcam to do this, to attend the live sessions or coaching, or even to be monitored. Approximately how much time is required for lab work each week? That's a great question. So the question is, how long do I have to study in this course so that I can somehow I can take full advantage of this course? So again, you see that there are two elements to this course. The class manual, which contains the vocabulary, and the laboratory, which contains the practices. So I'm going to give you an approximate number of hours for each of these components per week. Usually the vocabulary can be studied within 3 hours per week. Some students, depending on that week, some weeks could be 4 hours, some weeks could be 3 hours. For example, you will probably need for this week, maybe 3 hours will be sufficient. But you'll notice that for next week, maybe you need more time. Then, so 3 hours and you will always start with the class manual first. So you will always start studying whatever I assign to you in the class manual. That's the first thing you're going to do. Once you complete the class lab manual, then you're going to go to the laboratory portion. As I mentioned to you before, each practice comes with the script, or each important practice comes with the script. So the first step is for you to download the script. The script basically contains the original that it's it's the script of the practice, but what it also includes is the translation into Spanish. Right below the original in English has the translation into Spanish, okay? So you will have to get that script and read it. And you have to make sure that you understand the words. I'm going to tell you also today, during my lecture, how to study vocabulary for this class. So you will, usually use flashcards. So if you're reading the English and you don't know how to say it in Spanish, write the English word on one side of the flashcard, and on the back you write the translation, which is on the script. Some people don't like to use flashcards. They want to use any type of app that is available that creates the flashcards. Be my guest. It doesn't matter. The idea is that you want to be able to have access to the flashcard that you write this week, have access the last day of class in this course, or maybe even when you're working in the court system, so that you can always be refreshing your vocabulary, right? So how many hours is it going to take you to go over the script and study that vocabulary? A good 3 hours. And then you can do the practice, the audio for the practice when you hear and you interpret at the same time, maybe for another hour or so. So on average basis, you're going to spend between 6 and 7 hours of work. And at first, it's going to take a little bit more time. But as you get used to it, as you gain more vocabulary and you get used to it, and you'll notice that, for example, our main goal in this class is arraignment, and we really have 3 weeks. But what we want to do is I want you to study arraignment really well for next week. If you don't know it, it's okay. Then I will give you next week another opportunity to go back and study. But don't waste time. Just start studying right away, okay? So that's pretty much the duration of the extra time you need in addition to the 3 hours, okay? That's a very good question. Okay, how many hours do we need to study a week in order to pass the class? That's a good question. I think this answered it. I don't grade you based on the number of hours you study per week, because there might be some students that in 3 hours they get it all done. There are other ones that need 10 hours. I will grade you based on your performance in your final examination. And that is how well you know the vocabulary in the class manual, which will be written, right? And then you basically, I don't use multiple choice, by the way, okay? So all my exams, you have to actually write it. They are computer-based, but you do write the translations with the keyboard. So I don't use multiple choice, okay? So you need to study, it will be that grade, and then when I monitor you, it will be the grade for monitoring you. And in this class, I average them out. Each one is 50 points, right? So if for the portion that deals with the class manual, you get 40 points, and for the interpreting portion, which is the monitoring, you get 35, you get a total of 75%. And you need 70 or better, okay? Are we able to hear the other students doing the live sessions? No, we don't want that. We want to make sure that this is a one-on-one, experience. Because when you have other people listening, I mean, it's good to listen to other people, but when you are interpreting and you have other people listening to you, it doesn't lead anywhere. It just puts too much pressure, and people, it's not the best way to go about it. All right. So, any other questions? Do we have any other questions here? I'm going to try to work with this now. So let me see if you give me a little bit of time, because they have changed this and they're driving me absolutely crazy with this new system. So let me see if I can, I might be able to, okay, so let me try now. So I'm gonna do this. Let's see if this is kind of stuck, so I can't do much about that. Okay, so I'm going to need help from IT eventually for this thing, because I just cannot make it happen. Let's see. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the lecture now, and then once we start with the lecture, we're going to be, after lecturing, when we have the break, I'm going to ask IT to help me out here. And at that time, I'll be able to show you where the lab is and all those details that are important, okay? So let's see, I keep pressing buttons here, but nothing is actually happening. So let's see. I don't know where would this be, so I'm kind of stubborn, but all right. So having said that, let's begin with the class. Let's see if there is any other question. Okay, good. So let's begin with the class now. And of course, you will take notes. Okay, so you will take notes as you're doing this. You will do your best to write down everything, all the material and everything. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go over some basic legal terms. And these basic legal terms that we're talking about are terms that are criminal terms. Remember, when you take your state examination, they will be testing you on criminal terminology. They won't be testing you on anything else. They're going to be definitely testing you on criminal terms, okay? So what will happen is that in legal terminology, you have criminal and civil terms, and there is a difference between the two. In terms of criminal terminology, or the state examination, everything is on criminal terminology. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to be giving you an example of somebody committing a crime. And then that person who commits the crime, in the process, you're going to be learning vocabulary that it is very appropriate, and then you can write it down the best way you can. It's very simple. Sometimes the translation, you may need to write it down, and I can certainly do that for you once I get this thing working. There you go. I can do all these things. So maybe I can do this, but not this one. Okay. Wow, this is pretty impressive, but I need to get my tablet here, so I don't know how to do that. Okay, so let's talk about this. So imagine that I'm walking on a street, and I'm suddenly walking on the street, and I have with me cocaine. So I see two police officers. The first word here is police officers. Excuse me. So when we talk about a police officer, most people feel that officer should be oficial de policía. And in Spanish, the word oficial exists. But if we look at the word oficial, it's quite similar to the word oficina, right? And what happens is that these are the police officers who work from the office, from the police station. So they are mainly doing investigative work. When you work in the court system, and when the interpreter interprets in the court system, the interpreter is going to interact with those police officers who carry out the arrest. And the ones that carry out the arrest, in Spanish we say, está siempre con la gente, right? Con la gente en la calle. So that's why police officer in Spanish is agente de policía, no oficial de policía, agente de policía. Okay? So I'm walking on the street, and there are two police officers behind me, dos agentes de policía. These words that I give you the translation, you're going to need to study them for next week, so you better write them down, please. So, agente de policía is the proper translation for police officer. So what do? I have cocaine, tengo cocaína, and I throw it. I throw that, I have a baggie. Baggie, in Spanish we say bolsita. So a baggie is una bolsita. So I throw that baggie to the floor, and then the police officers see that I threw the baggie, la bolsita, and then they stop me and they arrest me. To arrest es arrestar. Then they put me in the police car. Now let's look at this police car or patrol car. In Spanish we call that la patrulla. La patrulla. That's the police car. So they put me in the police car and they take me to the police station. So when we talk about police station here now, no es estación de policía. Beware of that. There are many translations. You can say jefatura de policía, jefatura. You can say delegación de policía, delegación de policía. Or you can simply say comisaría. So you have three options for police station. Jefatura de policía, delegación de policía, so jefatura, delegación, o comisaría, comisaría. So the two police officers, los dos agentes de policía, arrested me arrestaron, and put me in the police car, y me pusieron en la patrulla, and took me to the police station, y me llevaron a la, and then you pick any of the three ones. You can say delegación de policía, that's used a lot in Mexico, comisaría o jefatura. Now, once in the police station, una vez que estoy en la delegación de policía, they start questioning me. To question is, in Spanish we call it interrogar. Interrogar, to question. Interrogar. So they're going to question me. Me van a interrogar. Okay? Interrogar. And that means to ask me questions, right? So instead of, you may say, well, why not to question me es hacerle preguntas? You will notice pretty soon that in the legal setting in Spanish, some legal expressions or legal terms are very specific to they're very, very formal. They're very specific. So it's not what we think it is, but it is a term that is much more elegant, more formal, more how could I say, more legal in Spanish. Okay. So although it means that to ask questions, the proper transfer for to question is interrogar in the legal setting. Okay? So they're going to ask me questions, me van a interrogar, or in this case you can also say me van a hacer preguntas, but interrogar is preferable. And you don't have to say me van a interrogar preguntas, it doesn't make much sense. To ask me questions is just interrogar. And then I'm going to answer them. Y yo las voy a responder, las voy a contestar. So, after that, después de eso, the police officers will take me to county jail. County jail, which in Spanish, county jail, it's actually translated as cárcel del condado. Cárcel del condado. Cárcel del condado. So now I'm in county jail. All right. Now this is a good time for me to answer some questions that are that have been asked. Can you use detener for to arrest instead of arrestar? There is a little bit of a difference between arrestar y detener in Spanish. Okay. Detener is what we say in English to apprehend. So what is the difference really? Let's say, for example, that the police officer, let's say this in Spanish, el agente de policía me detiene, all it means is that I'm still free to go. Pero cuando me arresta, is after the police officer read my rights and I am not free to go anymore. So detener is to apprehend, and arrestar is to arrest. All right? So there is a variation in the meaning of detener y arrestar. It's preferable to use arrestar. Detener means that you're free to go, whereas when I say arrestar, you're not free to go. Interrogation will be, of course, you could use in English, interrogation. See, the point is that English is not so structured in terms of legal terms. And what that really means is that sometimes they said, we're going to question you or we're going to interrogate you. So both terms are accepted. Spanish doesn't like at the legal setting, le vamos a hacer preguntas. They like only one formal term, which is lo vamos a interrogar. So what happens in this case is that because English is more lax with legal terms, you have two ways of saying it. We're going to question you, we're going to interrogate you. But in Spanish, we have only one way. We don't, in the legal setting, vamos a interrogarlo. Okay, so that's important. Police officers, agentes de policía, police car patrulla. That is exactly correct, yes. So now I'm in county jail, la cárcel del condado. The two police officers, los dos agentes de policía, will go back to the police station. Van a regresar a la delegación de policía. And again, you could use for police station, jefatura o comisaría. Once they are in the police station, una vez que están en la delegación de policía, they're going to write a report. Now, let's take a look at the word report. Everybody will, when you ask somebody, can you tell me how do you say in Spanish the word report? They will all tell you reporte, because it sounds similar. But here's an issue with this term. The word reporte exists in Spanish, but it doesn't mean the same thing that report means in the legal setting. Let's analyze this. In the legal setting, a report is going to always be a written report. Nobody in the right mind is going to be sending a tape, like the police officer sending a tape to the judge. It's going to be a written report. In Spanish, reporte is specifically verbal, not written. De ahí viene reportaje, reportero, which is all done verbally. So, the word report in the legal setting in English does not mean reporte in Spanish. So what does that it means? It means informe. Informe. So a police report is un informe de policía. And the word report in the medical, in the legal field, in any formal field, in any professional field, will always be informe, no reporte. Okay? Now some student is asking, what about aprehensión for apprehension? Sure, you can say aprehensión. Aprender a alguien is perfectly correct. It's the same thing as detener. In Spanish, aprehensión y detención are synonyms, but not arrestar, okay? So it has to be informe, that is correct. So police report is informe. So these two persons at the police station are actually going to write a police report. Van a escribir un informe de policía. Can you say informe policial? Or like in Mexico, they say informe policíaco. It is accepted in Mexico, policíaco, but you can say it should be in most Latin American countries, they will only accept informe policial, no policíaco. So to eliminate this discrepancy, we transfer this as informe de policía. So the two police officers, los dos agentes de policía, prepare a police report, preparan un informe de policía. And they send that police report y envían ese informe de policía to the district attorney's office. So let's see what that means, district attorney's office. You might have heard this a lot in the US, on the news, everywhere. So district attorney's office, what is that? Well, let's define it in English first. A district attorney is an individual who is in charge of a region within a state. So, for example, you have a district, and the region usually is a county. We call it county, condado. That's where the county jail, cárcel del condado. It means it's really Los Angeles County Jail if you are in Los Angeles, but if you are in Orange County, it will be Orange County County Jail. But we abbreviate it as county jail, cárcel del condado. So the district attorney represents a county. So we have in this area here, we have a district attorney in the county of Los Angeles. We have a different one in the county of Orange. And there is definitely another one in a county in Northern California. That's just one person. And that's, of course, an attorney. But that person cannot be in every single courthouse, right? It cannot be every day in a courthouse. In Los Angeles, there are about 800 courtrooms. So you cannot expect that same person to be at 8 o'clock in the morning in 800 courtrooms. So they hire what they call deputy district attorneys. So here we have two words, the district attorney and the deputy district attorney. The deputy is the one that works for the district attorney, okay? So now how do you translate into Spanish district attorney, which is the person that is more like a political appointment, and the deputy district attorneys? You may have 800 of those who work for the district attorney. So district attorney translates into Spanish as fiscal, F-I-S-C-A-L, fiscal. And the deputy district attorney, we translate it as subfiscal, S-U-B as in boy, and then the word fiscal, subfiscal. See, in Spanish, sub is an abbreviation of subalterno, meaning that this is your boss, okay? So if I am a defensor público, it means that I have a boss whose title is defensor público that I have to report to, right? So the word fiscal translates into Spanish as, the word district attorney translates into Spanish as fiscal. Deputy district attorney translates as subfiscal. In some jurisdictions, a deputy district attorney is known as an assistant district attorney. So they will translate also as subfiscal, if you might have heard that in other jurisdictions and in other places. In fact, somebody asked the question right now. It's the same. Okay, so now we have the district attorney and the deputy district attorney, and these two police officers, estos dos agentes de policía, send the police report, envió el informe de policía to the district attorney, al fiscal. Really, the district attorney will not be looking at that report. The district attorney will most likely give that report to one of the deputies. By the way, deputy district attorney in English is usually abbreviated as just deputy. Okay? In fact, a lot of things are abbreviated as deputy, which creates a lot of problems for interpreters. But in this case, the district attorney will give the police report to the deputy district attorney. El fiscal le va a dar el informe de policía a el subfiscal. Now, this district attorney works in an office, and it's called district attorney's office. So the district attorney's office, that's how you call where the district attorney works. It's a legal term, believe it or not. And in Spanish, district attorney's office is known as la fiscalía. Now, district attorney's office is generally abbreviated as DA's office. So a district attorney's office or DA's office transfers into Spanish as la fiscalía. And the transfer that I'm using here for district attorney fiscal, deputy district attorney subfiscal, and district attorney's office as la fiscalía, it's appropriate and it's acceptable. In Mexico, if you come from Mexico, you might be more familiar with el Ministerio Público y el agente del Ministerio Público. We're not going to get into that for various reasons. Number one, not yet, we will eventually. But number one, if you look at the word fiscal, it's one word in Spanish. Whereas if I say agente del Ministerio Público, it's 4 words. So every time we hear the word district attorney, if we use fiscal, we just say fiscal, 1 word for 2 in English. Good. I don't have to put too many words, because remember, you will interpret this at the same time, which means that you're going to hear it and say it in the opposite language. So you hear the word fiscal, you have to say immediately, DA or district attorney, and you have to say immediately fiscal. But if you have to say el agente del Ministerio Público, it's so long that you have to speed up. And you have to speed up, and therefore, if the original is delivered to you at 130 words per minute, then you have to be speaking at 145, 150 to be able to add more words. So we want to be very simple and use just 1 word, a translation that is as short as possible. So you do have, district attorney's office, which is la fiscalía, keep that in mind, or DA's office. Now, what is the function of the district attorney, by the way? What does he or she do? Well, the main function of the district attorney is to make sure that they protect the community, that county, the people in that county. In fact, not only the people in that county, they are supposed to protect the people of the state. In this case, will be the people of the state of California. So you say, how do they protect me? Well, they protect you in the following way. If, for example, today I am the victim of a crime, robbery, and John here committed the crime, if they don't arrest John, then it's possible that John tomorrow will pick another victim, and now it can be you. So in order for the district attorney to protect me and you, well, I'm already a victim, but you, they have to do something with John. In this case, send him to county jail, la cárcel del condado, right? So in a way, the district attorney's office protects the people of the state of California. And you may say, well, why not the people of the county of Los Angeles? True, but the Constitution says that it's not protecting only the people of the county, because remember, John can move from Orange County to Los Angeles and then to San Francisco, right? So it protects John, it protects all the people of the state of California. Some of you may say, well, but John can move to Nevada. Well, then that becomes a federal crime now because he crossed the borders of the state. So as long as the John is within the state, all these district attorneys that belong to a particular, that represent a particular county are really representing the people of the state of California. So the question is, when you hear district attorney's office and the people of the state of California, in the legal setting in the US, they are considered to be synonyms, which means that I can refer to, so what do you mean by synonyms? Well, when you go to the district attorney's office, you will be talking, you will be saying, I'm going to the district attorney's office, voy a la fiscalía. But when the district attorney's office goes to court, the district attorney's office is representing somebody. Who do they represent? The people of the state of California. So when they go to court to convince the judge that John should be arrested, then that's when the district attorney's office or the district attorney is actually representing the people of the state of California. We translate the people of the state of California the same way we translate district attorney's office, la fiscalía. For us in Spanish, it doesn't matter whether the term, it doesn't matter if it's the authority that protects the people or the people that are being protected. It's the same. It's la fiscalía for us in both cases. So district attorney's office, la fiscalía. People of the state of California, la fiscalía. Please do not translate the people of the state of California as el pueblo del estado de California. You cannot do that. That's incorrect. And much less la gente. I mean, although you will see in some instances some dictionaries who somehow transfer the people of the state of whatever as el pueblo. That's not accepted by your state exam. So when you go to court as an interpreter, you're gonna hear district attorney, fiscal. You're gonna hear deputy district attorney, subfiscal. You're gonna hear district attorney's office occasionally, but instead of district attorney's office, you're gonna hear the people of the state of California, which is the party that is being represented by that district attorney's office. And for us, district attorney's office, fiscalía, people of the state of California, fiscalía. And you don't have to say la fiscalía del estado de California, okay? So, having said that, good time for answering question here. Does fiscal change according to pronoun? Is it el fiscal or la fiscal? No difference. I would assume that the question has to do with the gender, Michelle. So yeah, it's el fiscal. There is no la fiscala. Definitely not. State attorney, the same as district attorney. There is a slight difference between a state attorney and a district attorney. There are certain crimes that must be prosecuted by the state directly, not by a district attorney's office. And in that case, you have the state prosecutor and you have the state attorney. And these are crimes that are related to politics, crimes where the victims are politicians, crimes where they use means to see. For example, let me give you an example. If I commit a crime in Los Angeles County, and then I commit a crime in Orange County, and then I commit a crime in San Marino County, and they arrest me, where are they going to be trying me? In which county? Well, technically, they can try me in each county individually, so I'll have 3 trials. But what it will happen here is they will say, wait a minute, he committed this in so many counties. That qualifies to be tried by the state attorney. And sometimes they pick that route, sometimes they don't. It's a technicality. Sometimes they pick only one county to prosecute someone, But generally, remember, the law says that all people that commit crimes, okay, the criminals, the defendants, we're going to see the translation for that shortly.